Good morning, everybody. This week we're going to start Chapter 4, Level 2, Breakfast. We're going to do breakfast today. We're going to do egg demos tomorrow with different type of needs for eggs and baking, and then international breakfast. Wednesday we're going to go over different dairy used in different countries, like international dairy use for cheeses, milks, yogurts, everything else. Thursday, we're going to do a review day. I'm going to put together a review page for you guys, and we're going to have a test on Friday of all the things that we've covered, till now. So let's get going. Let me share screen. Okay, so what we're going to start with, let me move this. All right, so breakfast cooking. It's essential. And it depends on what country. We'll go over the country breakfasts tomorrow. In the United States, we're huge on breakfast. It's like one of the biggest meals we have. Let's go. Okay, so just to get you going, so breakfast service around or in the United States is typically plated in the kitchen. So if you go to Waffle and Steak or Bob Evans or Denny's, typically all these places, everything's plated in the kitchen. So like you see here, you get your omelet, they bring it out to you, they serve it on individual plates. And then, they have eggs, bacon, sausage, tea, but it's blown up. There's so many different things they have now. I included a few pictures of the breakfast buffet they have at Disney World. We happened to have the luxury of going there a couple of years ago, and this is a typical breakfast. They have these meat carving stations. They'll have a whole turkey, a bone-in, I don't even know what that is, leg of lamb, maybe. The inside round of beef, all this stuff is set up. Eggs Benedict, sausage, roasted vegetables. That's breakfast now. This is more brunch, but, that's breakfast for me is brunch. Okay. Let's keep moving. Okay, so that's the American style service. English style service is like this. So they'll bring out a platter of stuff that is plated in the kitchen with all the different varieties of items that you would want on that platter. And then the host or hostess will serve it to you. And each country, typically, a lot of times will have different styles of service, depending on where you're at. And they eat a lot of different stuff, so they'll have sausage, bacon, eggs, grilled and fried tomatoes, beans, kippers, mushrooms, fried potatoes. It just depends on where you're at. Like United States, we have everything at our disposal. So you can go to a grocery store and buy anything. International markets around here buy anything. But if you're in like England, it's an island. They probably don't import a ton of stuff because it's expensive. So this is their typical stuff. You see this right here, this black patties, that's called blood sausage. So they make their own sausage, but they incorporate the blood back into it, and that's what gives it that color. They eat beans for breakfast. I think there's kippers on here, which is a little smoked fish. Lots of different types of sausage, because sausage is an easier way. If you don't have a lot of cows, pigs are easier to raise in certain countries. Lamb, sheep, and an easy process of fabricating this meat is to make a sausage with it, because you can smoke the sausage and it has a lot longer shelf life. And typically, before refrigeration, most meats were cured somehow. So sausage, they take an entire animal and make sausage with it because they could smoke that and eat it for months. And then you have different types of eggs, grilled tomatoes, roasted potatoes. It's just a different type of fare. Mushrooms. Okay, and then this is another type. So you have breakfast service, and this is called continental. Continental breakfast has come eons from what we used to be. When I was a kid, when we would travel, you get continental breakfast. They used to put like a couple things of juice, an apple, and like a stale bagel in a bag and hang it on the handle of your hotel room. We never stayed in really fancy places, but there'd be 5 of us and there'd be like 2 things of juice. Now, this is a okay picture, but Most places, like Holiday Inn, they offer a continental breakfast, which basically means it's self-serve. So, right, not during quarantine, but normal. They'll have a little waffle iron, they'll have some cereals, um, maybe a hot item, maybe some ham or something sitting out there, uh, eggs, not typically like fried. Well, they might have scrambled eggs, but a lot of times they'll have like hard-boiled eggs, different types of juice, coffee, pastries, and you just walk up, eat, grab what you want, and leave. A lot of yogurt, that kind of stuff. Then they'll have topping bars for it. Some hotels get pretty fancy with their continental, but okay. So then we have brunch. So brunch is a cross between breakfast and lunch, and it is delicious, but you can really get gorged with brunch. I don't know why these pictures are so pixely, but basically it's not just breakfast items. They'll have, like you can see here, there's a lobster stuffed with lobster salad and different types of salads, pastries, breakfast pastries, eggs, frittatas, just all kinds of stuff. I mean, they'll have everything from breakfast menu and the lunch menu combined. They're not going to have like steaks and stuff because that's more dinner, but they'll have like whole roasted meats, kind of like we saw in that first slide. Like this. This is more of a brunch menu. So they'll have lots of different things. And then they'll have charcuterie boards. So they'll have like your meats and cheeses and salamis and fruits, and that's elements of English and American service. English service, they'll just bring the platter to your table and they serve you off that. And then American, yeah, so it's kind of like a mix. All right, now we're getting into types of breakfast foods. This is one of my favorites. Okay, so you have pancakes, right? Pancakes are basically a flour, eggs, a leavener of some sort, vanilla maybe, sugar, a little bit of salt, and then whatever else you want to put in there ingredient-wise. This is a typical pancake. Griddle cakes, Johnny cakes, these are all the same thing. High carb, you can put high calorie on them by loading them with syrups and stuff. This is a very high calorie one. They've gone above and beyond with pancakes these days. This looks like a unicorn frosty pancake or something. Lincoln Square Pancake House around here, they have, oh my God, their pancake menu is kind of extensive too, but they have like red velvet pancakes. They go all out. And they're easy to make. They're so easy to make. Okay, crepes, it's like a pancake. It's got a higher egg content. So pancakes, you pull on it, it'll break. Crepes are a little more stretchy, so you can stuff them. Cooked on a lightly oiled griddle. Swedish pancakes are similar, slightly sweeter and heavier. These are French style. So, yeah, and I add some more pictures. So waffles, kind of similar to a pancake. A lot of people just use their pancake and waffle batter for the same exact thing. Actually, I got a crepe video I'm going to show you in a second. So they'll just use the same batter, and then, or sometimes they'll make a completely different waffle batter just so they get a different texture. Waffles usually crispy on the outside, soft on the inside. Made with a medium weight batter, cooked in a waffle iron or maker. And then same thing with waffles. They've gone, chicken and waffles. Then you have this, looks like a red velvet waffle with Oreos all over it and either whipped cream or ice cream. Okay, let me go to that video real quick so you guys can see this. Because waffles or crepes are kind of hard to make, so I found this Alton Brown video because he's really good with this stuff.
Ready to take another stab at this little problem. We're going to do it Shirley's way this time. We're going to make a basic crepe batter in the blender. 2 large eggs, 3/4 cups of milk, half a cup of water, a cup of all-purpose flour, and about 3 tablespoons of melted butter. Now, if you wanted some extra nuttiness, brown that butter first. Lid on, blend for 7 to 10 seconds on hot. Any longer, and the water and flour would get together and form gluten, which would toughen the crepes, and they'd hold bubbles, and they'd get fat and nasty, and I don't want to get into it. Now, you want to make a more savory crepe? Well, we're going to use the exact same ingredients. Eggs, milk, water, flour, and butter. Plus, we're gonna add about a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. That's like 2 big pinches. And some fresh herbs, a 1/4 cup. Anything but rosemary will do here. Sticks in your teeth. Now, the short blend time will ensure that the herbs do not get obliterated. Fine. Looks good. Oh, you want a dessert crepe? No problem. Same ingredients. We've got the eggs and the water and the milk and the flour. Same amount of butter.
All right, we're gonna go to cooking on this.
My shiny new non-stick pan's getting nice and toasty over medium heat. Now, even though this is a non-stick pan and doesn't technically need any lubrication, we're gonna add some anyway, because we'd like to also make our crepe slick. And the butter will also bring a nice nutty flavor to the party. We don't want a lot, just enough to coat the bottom of the pan. Now, as far as adding batter, I like to use just this little 1/4 cup measure to keep me kind of honest. For a pan this size, I'm probably not gonna use more than about 1 ounce of batter. So, heat looks about right. My butter is bubbling but not burning. So, in goes the batter. And I like to keep the batter moving for quite a while after it's in the pan. That's gonna help it kind of set up nicely. Now, if the heat is a little too high, the batter is gonna start to scramble on the bottom, and you're gonna get little holes, and, well, I can see it's already happening. Oh well. Listen, the truth is 9 times out of 10, the very first crepe's not gonna work out anyway. The heat's gonna be a little off, or the batter's gonna be off. Just go ahead and cook the gosh darn thing and serve it to the dog. Heck, that's what he's there for, right? Now that we've gotten that taken care of, our pan is perfectly lubed, and we can cool off the pan a little and try again. Just keep the pan moving, barely. You'll see it start to thicken. And when it does, you can slowly let the pan come back down. Now, if you've lubed correctly, you're not gonna have any sticking, even along the very, very thin edge. And that's great, because you'll know when to flip the crepe just by watching for those corners to kind of turn back on themselves a little. Now, when it comes time to flip, a lot of folks like to use this kind of long wooden spatula and scoop it and flip it, but I was raised in pancake land, so that's a flip for me. Let this sit for about another 10 seconds just to set the other side.
All right, so pretty decent video. They're hard to make, like if you've never made a crepe before. It takes a lot of practice. They make a crepe pan, so his was very high on the edge. So unless you know how to flip it, trying to get some underneath that thing is very difficult without scratching your Teflon pan. So they make these like cast iron ones that are like this tall, maybe a 1/2 inch, and it's just a little lip and it goes straight across. So it's a lot easier to turn your crepes. French toast, another wonderful dish, which is basically your dairy. You know, you have eggs, almost like a 50-50 blend of eggs and cream, and then you can season it with what you want. Typically, I put like maple syrup, brown sugar, salt, whatever, vanilla in your batter. And you want to make it thick. You don't want a bunch of just milk in there, because it's not going to cook right. You want it to almost like poof up rather than just be a soggy piece of bread. And then what people do wrong with this is traditional French toast. Traditional French toast, where's my picture of that? Okay, this is traditional French toast right here. It's day-old French bread. So it's not your American style French toast where it's like, take a couple slices of white bread, throw them in your milk and cook it. The bread's supposed to be hard. When we made French toast at work, we would always have French baguettes. We had a bakery. We'd take the old bread, we'd slice it thick, and we would soak it in the batter overnight. It was so hard. And then it'd just absorb all that deliciousness. And then we'd cook it the next day. We'd griddle it and then we'd bake it. And a lot of times we just put the whole sheet tray in the oven, get it hot, and then cook it. You know, just put the bread on the hot sheet tray. So making pancake batters. I just want to show you this video too, because it's
Hi, I'm Danine Green. I'm a personal chef and owner of Daily Squares Catering. And today I'm going to show you why you shouldn't mix your pancake batter until it's smooth. You know, in every recipe for pancake batter, it always says don't overmix, leave lumps. And if you've ever made really rubbery pancakes, then you know why this is. Overmixing your pancake batter makes the batter form gluten, and gluten's a protein, and if it gets to be too tight, then you end up with super rubbery pancakes. So you want to go for a look that's slightly lumpy, definitely not smooth, and your pancakes will come out really light and fluffy. I'm Danine Green, and that's why.
And that's it. A lot of people want to take a wire whisk and whip the pancakes and break up all the lumps and all that. You don't need to do that. You need to just fold it together, and then it'll come apart. Like if there's chunks of flour, that's why you sift flour. You want to take those lumps out. But if you over whip this, it's not good. It's the same thing with cakes. You don't over whip cakes. You don't beat the life out of cakes and cookies and all that. All right, so prepare the batter. You prepare it, you let it rest. Typically, once it's activated, once you add your baking soda and some sort of acid, like buttermilk for your pancakes, or baking powder, which already has the acid in it, once it's activated, you'll see that this will start to make bubbles, and that's what you want. But the bad thing with that is, once you make pancake batter, you need to use it that day, because if you try to use it the next day, those bubbles start to ferment almost. Like sometimes they'll start to get this gray coat across the top of it. You don't want that. Okay, so you have your pancake batter. You have your pancake batter. You want to get your pan not super hot. You just want this lightly hot. Put your pan, and Teflon works pretty well. I mean, I would use a Teflon for this, just because if you're not skilled with, like, if you try to use this in a regular pan, it's not gonna work out great. Iron skillets work great. I mean, as long as they're seasoned. So you want to put this in, always measure it. Like you see here, they're using a measured scoop, so they're all the same size. Put it in, don't try to drop it real high, drop it real low. And then once you get the bottom, you'll see bubbles start to come to the top. That's the heat trying to escape. Lift it up a little bit, I guarantee it's ready to turn. If you wanted to add something to your pancake, that's when you do it. See how he's putting blueberries in this one right now? That's when you add your blueberries, your chocolate chips, whatever you want to add to it. Don't put it in the batter, because if you mix those in the batter, it'll break them, and you'll have blueberry like the whole thing will be blue. So you want to put them in on top and then turn it. And then you can garnish with whatever you want, you know. I love pancakes. But maple syrup, chocolate, I mean, whatever you want to do with these. Okay, crepes, you saw that. You saw the video. This is a crepe pan. See how this is lightly raised on the edge? That's a lot easier to turn. Prepare your batter, let it rest for a minute. Heat up your pan. The key with these is you don't want a super hot pan, because you'll scorch them. You just want to, like, cook it lightly. This is almost too dark. I think it's actually too dark. Swirl around a lot. And then crepes, I'll show you these tomorrow in different international videos, but there's so much you could do with crepes. Chocolate crepes, they have Nutella crepes, and they hold almost like it's almost like a tortilla style. I mean, they hold like a tortilla as far as like stuffing them with things. So you can take these off, cool them, and then and just roll them, like put whatever you want inside, roll it up. They actually sell these in the store now, and they're already cooked. But yeah, the extra egg texture in there keeps these things together. Preparing waffles, several different ways. I mean, typically this is the new way. So you have an electric waffle maker. These are in a lot of continental breakfast places too. Make sure it's on. And you're gonna go through a couple, because these have different settings. It's not one setting fits all. These have different heat temperature settings. And it's all variant on how cold your waffle batter is. You know, if you're making waffles just for that day, this thing doesn't need to be as hot as if you're working in a restaurant and your waffle batter's cold. because we'd keep it in the fridge. So you need to just do a test one, you know, see how it turns out, see what you need to adjust. Make sure it's always sprayed. And what happens is this thing, if it's an old school waffle maker, this will go right on the stove. And you put your batter in, you heat up the one side, in about 4 minutes or 3 minutes, you turn this whole thing over, cook the other side. These new ones, you just put stuff in there, clamp it, turn it over, and it beeps when it's done. And you just garnish it with whatever you want. All right, so here's your French toast. Prepare your milk egg mixture, which is right here. Like I'm saying, you need heavy eggs on there. And if you have a blender, blend that up, because it's typically these proteins, the whites, will stay big and clumpy even when you mix it up really well. And then when you go to cook this, you'll even pick it up and this big blob will fall off, and that's the egg whites. So if you had a blender, you can blend this up till smooth. Let this soak for a little bit, and then cook in a pan. And you want to get it nice and brown, but if you have thick bread, you can finish this in the oven, because nobody wants to bite into a big milk bath in the middle of a piece of French toast. Nasty. So you want to grill both sides, and then you can do it on medium-low heat. You know, get that nice brown in there. You know it's going to cook through in the middle because it has eggs in it. You know, you need to cook it. Cook until brown. Remove and garnish. And then there's you can do anything with these. You can do stuffed French toast. We did one at work that was we stuffed the middle. We cut the bread open and stuffed it with sweetened mascarpone cheese, and then grilled it. And I forget what we served it with, maybe Nutella or something like that. Okay, breakfast meats. Typical American, you got bacon, sausage, and ham. So there's two types of ham, or there's tons of different sausages, thousands of sausages. We'll go through those with breakfast stuff tomorrow. Let me put that on here. Okay, so typical American ham, like a bone-in ham. Okay, so you see it's a leg bone. That's what this is. Canadian bacon is actually a pork loin that is smoked and cured. I don't think it even has it on here. Boneless pork loin, smoked and cured. Oh, I'm so genius. I didn't even read that. It's just off the dome. Bacon is the belly of a pig. So it's the belly meat, smoked, aged, not aged, but smoked, cured, and then sliced. And each one has with a different cook time. Hams are cooked. So those basically just heat and serve. Sausages, you could buy them pre-cooked or cooked. If you buy them raw, you need to cook them all the way through. And then bacon, here's a couple different videos. You could do bacon a couple different ways. You could pan fry it. You know, if you're only making a few pieces, go ahead and pan fry it. If you're working in a commercial setting, put it on sheet trays like this and bake it. If you can cook 10 pounds of bacon in 35, 40 minutes, whereas if you try to pan fry all that, it takes forever, and it's a lot easier to clean up, because see how this bacon's laid on this piece of paper? It's called parchment paper. This pan doesn't get all that burnt bacon on there, and then once you pull it out of the oven, you take the bacon off, turn this pan to the corner, and just dump the grease right out. So you just have to make sure that you rotate it and keep an eye on it so you don't burn the life out of these ones, and then this is raw. Okay, more breakfast items. Fish. So you saw kippers. I'll show you a kipper tomorrow. That is a small smoked fish, smoked trout. This is gravlax, which is like a cured salmon with dill and brown sugar and salt, served on cream cheese with a bagel. And then one of my favorites is hashes. So mixture of meat, potatoes, onions. And it doesn't have to have meat in it. You could do this with vegetables. You could do a whole skillet with vegetables and eggs or whatever you want to do. Corned beef, hash. There's so many different types. But basically you want to chop up everything into like uniform size. That's why your knife skills come important really right here. Everything needs to be about the same size. So it's easy to pick up with a fork or a spoon, and then they cook evenly, all right, depending on what you're making. So you need to figure out how long all the cook times are for all of these different things and adjust your recipe with that. So if you're cooking broccoli, or whatever this is, say they're putting spinach in there and you have potatoes. Potatoes take a lot longer than spinach. So you could either blanch or cook these ahead of time, like par cook them, blanch them, and then, or roast them, and then toss everything together and fry your eggs on top. But there's so many different types of hash. It's so good. Breakfast starches and fruit. So breakfast starches, you have grits, which are made from hominy, which is a type of corn. Boiled, seasoned, served with butter. It's a Southern style cuisine. I love grits. I like mine with butter and sugar on them, just a pile of it. Cereals, hot and cold. Those are your cream of wheat, cocoa wheats, oatmeal, and then cereal in the United States has got ridiculous. I mean, this is the cereal aisle at Kroger, or not Kroger, but Meijer. I mean, come on, people. We have so many types of cereal. I mean, but it's good. It's quick. It's easy. I mean, they serve cereal at restaurants. Like, they'll sell you a little bowl of cereal for like $4. That's why I can't fathom going out to eat sometimes, because it's like I could buy a whole box of cereal for 2 weeks for the same price you're charging me. Breads and pastries. So breakfast starches and fruits. Here's your different pastries common in the US. You have bagels, croissants, donuts, coffee cake. I put this picture of this little buffet where they put like a little board with all the donuts on it. And then they make sandwiches out of a lot of these. You know, a lot of people realize, oh, I can put meat and cheese in a croissant and sell that for more money. So tons of things people are doing with the breakfast pastries. And this is a fruit display. You know, you don't have to do this at your house, but this is really nice if you go to a buffet and grab your breakfast pastries. And because this is continental right here. Well, not really, but it is self-service. And then different fruits and stuff. Okay, potatoes, you have hash browns, home fries. Hash browns are typically your shredded raw potato. I think I got that right. Shredded potatoes, and then they sometimes form like a little patty, or they'll cook them on the grill on the flat top and turn them over. And then home fries are little cubes of potatoes, deep fried. Sometimes they'll cook them with peppers and onions on a flat top. All right, so that's what we have for today. Those are your breakfast items. And then I'm going to have some questions on here for you guys. All right. So watch that. And then tomorrow we'll get into egg demos, and then international breakfast foods and meats.